Previously, we talked about the main gameplay of the support role. Now, it's time for part 2. The bot laner, the ADC, the protagonist of the game. So, brace yourself, prepare for kiting, pause League of Skillshot, open up your support flame copy-pastes. It's time to carry the team, or get absolutely steamrolled trying. But Sysox, you ask, what is an ADC? Well, ADC stands for Attack Damage Carry, and that's pretty much what a bot laner is. It's a champ whose main job is to build and provide damage for their team, often physical damage. Since these guys most often focus on attack damage, it means that most of them will heavily focus on dealing damage with their basic attacks. This can obviously change drastically depending on the champ, but the ADC playstyle in a nutshell can be described in 2 words: right-click. The generic ADC rotation is basically that you right-click an enemy, then move your character a little bit, then right-click the enemy again. Sometimes you even get to throw an ability or 2 into the mix. What an exciting role. So basically, when building items, you get to pick from a few fun stats to build. The most common one would probably be attack speed. Makes sense, right? Your attacks deal damage, and more attacks equals more damage. You can also buy extra attack damage, so each attack hurts more. Wait, am I seriously sitting here and explaining math? Anyways. Critical strike is often built on bot laners. Then there's lifesteal, ability haste, or on-hit effects that works on some bot laners, but we're getting to the scuffed stats now. The point is that you mainly want to hurt people. An ADC very rarely builds HP, armor, or stuff like that. Sometimes you can pick up a Guardian Angel in order to save your ass late game, but that's about all that you get. ADCs rely very much on their team to keep them alive, as well as their own skill in kiting and positioning. And that's where I fail. I won't lie to you. ADC is my least played role, and is by far the one I suck the most at. And God knows, I can barely scrape by on any of the other roles neither. Bot laners are squishy. If you get caught by CC or something in a teamfight, you're pretty much done for. You gotta know how to avoid attacks and learn how to see openings in order to enter fights. Again, it's easy for me to talk about all this, but on most champs I can't actually do it in-game to save my life. Some champions work better for me than others. You see Jin here on the screen? He is one of the few AD carries that I feel somewhat comfortable with playing. Say hi, Jin. Sadly, he's a very special kind of ADC, so my hours on him doesn't really help me much on other champions. So what about the laning phase in bot lane? Well, if you've been around the block, then you know that this place is a duo act. You are only as strong as your support. Or whatever. If the support is your pre-made friend, then you might be able to get some strategizing going. There's always a few very strong champion combos that can make laning a lot easier. Nami and Lucian is a strong one, or Saya and Rakan, Kog'Maw and Lulu, and several other classics. There's also many meme comps to try out if your goal is to make your lane opponents fume. Anyways, picking champs that at least works sort of well together is kind of important if you want to avoid a headache. Otherwise, you might end up playing Kalista with a Yuumi support or something, and then you won't have an ultimate until the 15-minute mark when you get to play with the rest of the team as well. Bot lane is also pretty counter-pickable. But if you lane against some rough champions, you are at least a ranged character and can farm on the turret pretty safely. And farming is kind of your thing as an ADC. Gold and riches are much needed when you play a carry champ. But the one thing that ADCs get that other lanes don't really have is the huge potential of peeling. Peeling is basically when your team plays around the fact that you might carry them later on. Yeah, no pressure, right? So, they try to make sure that you get a lot of kills, extra farm, free buffs, and a lot of other goodies. Now, I personally don't get to experience this a lot, but when I do, oh man, it really feels like I'm the main character. Of course, as far as peeling is concerned, your support has most likely already been doing this from the game's start. But don't be mean to them just because they are a side character. Your support still has ample opportunity to screw you over. Mutual respect is much better than trash-talking each other in the bot lane, believe it or not. As I mentioned in the support video, it is important to play in sync with both your support and then later on with the rest of the team. Try to guess what your team is planning before a fight starts. And for crying out loud, use your pings! Since you have little to no defenses yourself, it is important that you position yourself to be safe from enemy champions. Your team will often try to help you get an opening so that you can damage the enemy team safely. But then again, you can't really trust your team to do anything in this game, so yeah. Best thing you can do really is to stay out of range until you see something that might be an opening. Again, I am all but too aware that this is easier said than done. Playing ADC certainly is fun when it goes well for you, but in my experience, it more often than not ends up with you getting ripped to shreds. The good news is that if this happens often in a game, there is usually a pretty safe plan B, which is that you, instead of fighting, focus on clearing and pushing waves. You get farm and your base is defended. Win-win. Sort of. But ADCs are by nature glass cannons. They hit harder than anyone else, but if someone hits them back, they shatter. It's not really my preferred playstyle most of the time, but I can certainly see the appeal of it. And it is really fun when I manage to get a good game as a bot laner. So if being the primary target of the entire enemy team seems like your thing, then my advice will, of course, be to give the role a go. What's the worst that can happen? Am I right? Anyways, this pretty much concludes my final video about the different League of Legends roles. But it will definitely not be the last one. Making videos has simply been too much fun. I have loads of ideas stored, and I would love to read your comments about what more I should make videos about. The game has a lot more to offer, and so have I. Also, click subscribe and all that, and I'll simply see ya later. Bye bye for now.